Hi, Larry Kruger with another session on Ask the Expert. Today I'm going to discuss, or given the venue, explain my opinion on right-sizing your organization with your relocation supplier. Now, there's a lot of different tiers of relocation companies out there. There are multinational relocation companies. There are kind of national, mid-level relocation companies. There are boutique relocation companies. And I'm going to discuss the benefits of dealing directly with suppliers, depending on the size of your organization. Now, just a little aside on here. Many years ago in a different life, I worked for a multinational moving organization, and a friend of mine by the name of Craig Boriani, Craig is linked into me, but at any rate, Craig had come up from Chicago and we were doing a presentation for a Canadian company. And we were in the boardroom, and Craig started off his presentation by explaining the fact that we have over 350 offices around the world. And he went on to say that we even have an office in Zimbabwe. And the reason I say Zimbabwe is because it's fun to say Zimbabwe. In his levity, obviously the place cracked up. We had a wonderful meeting and kind of broke the ice, but in his levity he brought out an important point. Do you need an organization that is in 350 locations, or is global, or is in Toronto or New York? The thing to do is to kind of match your relocation provider, and this is of course my opinion. Take it for what it's worth or leave it. It makes no difference. To match your business mesh with your supplier. And I'll go into a little bit of more detail as to why I think it's important. Now, if you're a multinational organization, by all means, utilize a multinational relocation group. But the fact that they might have offices in Zimbabwe, if you're doing national business or cross-border business, isn't really relevant to the services that they provide. So don't get all caught up on where their locations are. McWilliams, the firm I work for, has 2 locations. We cover all of Canada. We cover the U.S. We sell against multi-branch operations. And not to sound facetious, when I'm asked that question, I always say all of our trucks have wheels on them. And if they're sitting in the yard, they're not making us money. So we are driving all over the place. We don't need multiple locations. We utilize our agent family in various locations, and we self-haul a lot of our own business. So the actual location end of things, the multinational perspective, is not always your best bet. Now, again, get it back. If you're a multinational organization, it makes a lot of sense to mirror your business with a multinational relocation supplier. If you're a very large corporation, but you only do domestic US, a bit of Canada, it's not absolutely necessary to have an office in Zimbabwe. You don't need the coverage at this point. If you're growing into a global mobility program, then you can kind of set yourself up for that kind of a growth, or your current supplier, if it's a smaller supplier, can't stretch. It's easier, in my opinion, for an organization to stretch than to detract. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on mirroring. We have an account that asks us frequently where we stand in our business mesh. Are we a large customer? Are we the largest customer? Are we a mid-tier customer? The reason being is they want to be the largest customer. The reason why, and these folks buy billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of services and goods globally. But their whole approach, which is a wise one in my opinion, is that you want to be positioned high on the totem pole, if you will. The product you're purchasing is basically the supply chain, keep a very close eye on the movers too, I might add. I keep flipping back to it, but the weak link in the entire relocation industry is the movers. So when you're going out, ask the relocation companies how they work with their movers. Vitally important. IT is IT, you know, Tempacom is Tempacom, visas are visas, lawyers are lawyers. But where the real problem is, and I keep harping on this, is the capacity issues in the moving industry. So you should look at that. But the two things you are purchasing, there's a supply chain, again, in my opinion, and the management of the process. The price, the price in the relocation business is basically the same in most cases. You know, there are some people that charge file fees and there's different structures, but in most cases, when you're going out there, it's a zero file fee. So all you're buying is the supply chain and the management of that supply chain. Bring that right back into perspective. Management, as we all know, gets down to the attention given to your account. Now, if you're a smaller mid-size account, or if you're a large account with just a few moves, are you on the radar if you're utilizing a very large relocation firm? If you're doing X number a year, maybe a mid-size firm will give you that attention. What you want to be, again, in my humble opinion, is on the top of the totem pole. You want to be one of the larger customers for that relocation company because you get more attention. It's as simple as that. You don't have to be global to provide service around the world. Sometimes it's help, you know, if you have bricks and mortars in certain positions. But if you're not doing any business overseas, don't be overly concerned about an overseas, a global relocation provider. Large corporations will say that you know, on an RFP, that you have to be global to participate in this RFP. Why don't you right size your RFP if you're not a large company and say, we're looking for companies that manage 30, 50, 100 moves a year? That's the kind of people we want to deal with. At any rate, we have the multinationals, and if they're multinationals, God love them. A few years ago, a large corporation made a decision and sold the bottom tier of all their business. They picked a lane. I admire them for doing that. Up in Canada, the handoff might not have been that smooth, but they decided that this is our niche. This is what we're doing. We're a multinational organization. We're selling to multinationals who need our services in Zimbabwe, Toronto, New York. Mid-size, you know, there's a whole plethora of those folks out there. And if you're a smaller company, a boutique, in my opinion, is your absolute best bet. They appreciate, they service the bejesus out of it. They make sure that everything is done properly, and they really value your business. If you're only doing a few moves, go direct to suppliers. We can provide excellent service, and you don't have a relocation company in the middle with added costs and added communications. So right size your business pending on your mobility format. Doesn't matter how big your company is. If you're only doing 5 moves a year or 10 moves a year, go direct to a supplier. So I hope that's, again, it's in my humble opinion, but if you mirror the size of the organization you're dealing with to the number and locations of your relocations, I think you get a much better service. So at any rate, I hope that was of some interest. Have yourself a great day.